outpatient mental health therapist at Ashland MMC. I would like to share with you a couple of breath practices that include some movement, so bringing the mind, the body, and the breath all together in coordination with each other. The second thing I want to do is show you a couple of balance poses that can be really good for grounding, because if you're not physically and mentally in the same place, so if your mind's racing off somewhere, or you're not really connected to where your body is at in space, balance poses are really difficult to do. And so if you're feeling like that you're kind of scattered and not very grounded, a balance pose can be a really nice way to challenge yourself to be present. These are also things that can be pretty fun, and so you might want to share them with your children as a way of being active in your house, to kind of refocus and reconnect, especially if you've been spending a lot of time on computers or devices. And so this is just an open invitation to a practice that you might find helpful. You can do this with me right now as I am showing it to you, or you can come back to it later and try it on your own. So, first thing you should do is find a place of groundedness with your feet on the ground, maybe dropping your shoulders a little, taking a nice deep breath. And then when you're ready, I'm going to invite you to take your arms, open your hands towards the front of your body, and then as you inhale, raise your arms up overhead, and then hold, and then exhale as you bring your hands down towards your heart center. This is called the sun breath. So once again, inhaling and exhaling, release. One more, inhale and exhale, release. And you can continue with that practice as long as you wish. And then when you're ready, there's a second practice that you can move into. And in this practice, we're going to bring our arms up overhead as we inhale. And then as we exhale, drop your left hand behind you and your right hand in front, turning toward the back hand as you exhale. Then inhale, hands back up, and exhale other side. So this time your right hand is in back and your left hand is in front. So this is another one where you can continue to pair movement with breath. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. And then when you're done, exhale, bringing your hands back to your heart and then down to your sides. So both of those are practices that you can do separately. If you like one in particular, you can feel free to use that anytime that you like, just to kind of both get yourself a little more grounded, but also those practices, because they pair breath and movement, tend to be a little more activating. So if you feel like you actually need a little more energy or you need to wake up, those practices can be helpful compared to some of the other breath practices that we do that are much more just calming. But if you want to keep going, then we're going to try a couple of balance poses. I've been trained in trauma sensitive and somatic yoga, and I've been using this in my therapy practice and in mental health day treatment for the past few years. So these practices are very specifically designed to actually be helpful in managing emotion, managing distress, in addition to any physical benefits you might get from them. And so the next practice we're going to do is tree pose. And so if you've practiced any yoga at all, or if you've seen pictures of people doing yoga, you have probably seen this pose. Only go as far as you are able to safely go, and I'll give you a couple of hints about things you should not do. If you like, you can be up by a wall or by a chair for balance in case you're afraid you're going to tip. Also, if you tip, all that happens is you put your foot back on the floor. So it really isn't a big deal if you decide to just try this out in space. So once again, find those feet on the floor. Make sure your weight is evenly distributed. Maybe you rock back and forth on your feet. And then when you're ready, begin to make your right foot light. So maybe you stop where your toes are still gently touching the floor, and you turn the knee out. If this feels grounded and you'd like to go a little further, you can lift that foot off the floor and bring it to your calf. As you can see, sometimes we fall out and we just come back in. And you can stay right here, or if you wish, you can bring your foot all the way up to your thigh. Do not put your foot at your knee because you can injure your knee. And then, if you're feeling pretty steady in this pose, you can also add arms. The classic pose is to bring your hands up overhead and breathe. All right, we'll let that go. Now there's a few other things you can do. First of all, you want to do the second side. It's a yoga rule. You always have to do both sides because we don't want people to be imbalanced. You can also do this with family members that you're currently sheltering at home with. So you can do the yoga pose and actually bring hands to your family member's shoulders. And so you can do this as a group. You can bring hands to hands and you can actually pass back and forth, swaying a little bit as you would if you were trees in the forest. If you get really good at this, you can also close your eyes and find your balance there. So there's lots of ways to bring your mind and body together using balance poses. I'm going to give you one more balance pose. This one you can do as a single pose, a stationary pose, or you can do it as a moving pose, which is actually moving from it into yet a third pose. So just play with these, experiment with these, and again, notice how much it brings your mind and body into one place. So with this particular pose, what I'm going to invite you to do is to again get both feet steady on the ground. This is called Gita, which is that multi-armed god that you see with the hands up like this, and the foot raised from the floor. We don't have multiple arms, although I guess if you bring your family in a row, you could all have different arms. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to, again, float the weight to one foot and lift the other one up. This time we're going to bring the knee just up off the floor as if you're marching. And you can bring that knee up as far as you like, all the way to parallel to the floor. If you wish, you can hold the knee up with your hands. The big thing here is not how far you go into the pose, but that balance, that needing to be present and grounded to hold the pose. All right, so like I said, you can bring your hands to the knee, you can let the leg stand on its own, and so then we'll go through it one more time. So this time we'll lift the knee up, and I'm going to add the arms. And I'm going to breathe. And I'm going to be present in the pose. All right. And as with the last one, be sure you do both sides because we don't want you to be crooked. And then, last but not least, if you're still with me and you're having fun with yoga, here's one more pose you can do. So this is a mobile Gita pose. And so you go from Gita actually to a pose called Warrior 3, which is kind of like an airplane. So we'll go to the opposite foot here. And again, if you're doing it yourself, you'll want to do both sides. So we bring up the knee, we bring up the arms, we breathe, and if we're feeling grounded enough, we begin to tilt forward, we begin to bring the arms out toward the sides and the leg toward the back. And then bringing the foot back up to front. Some days, if I'm really focused and have a really good balance, I can do that nice and smooth. Other days, my foot might touch the floor. Doesn't matter. It's about being present. It's about being able to move in our bodies and feeling that we can be more grounded and more balanced in our day-to-day lives right now when things might feel overly stressful or imbalanced. So, sun breath, the mobile breath, tree pose, and Gita with the option of moving Gita. We'll see you next time.